Welcome to the Unlimited You podcast. Believing firmly in the limitless potential that resides within each individual, your host, Master Victor Almeida, a distinguished martial arts expert, is here to guide you in unlocking your inner power. Each episode offers practical knowledge, from strength training techniques to the calming practices of meditation, tailored to enhance your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Join us on this empowering journey and embrace the warrior that lies within you.
Now let's talk about some of the hardships of a vegan diet. While you're traveling, it is a bit difficult. Like my partner and I traveled full time for 2.5 years. And one of the hardest things while you're in the middle of the food deserts out there, once you leave the East Coast, cities start getting really far apart. And you need to stop at a grocery store, and it might be 300-400 miles before you get to another city. And in between that, if you're boondocking somewhere, you're going to be like 100 miles from the nearest grocery store. And then you get to that grocery store, they might not have the food that you need. They might not have vegan options. We experience this a lot of the times. So we had we had limited access to the foods that we need. And this is a lot of the problems that you see in impoverished communities, is that they don't have access to foods that are healthy. That is honestly one of the biggest downfalls of our current system, is that the food is being controlled by the people who put it out there, and it's not getting to everybody. One of the biggest nutrients that's hard for us to get is vitamin B12. I take a vitamin to increase my vitamin B12 intake. And there are, I would say, two of the hardest minerals for people to get in their diet when they go into a vegan or vegetarian diet is vitamin B12 and omega-3s. Omega-3s can naturally be found in flaxseed, chia seeds, beans, walnuts, edamame. You can find different omega-3 fatty acids. As far as vitamin B12, you can get them from specific type of mushrooms, algae, nutritional yeast, and other fortified foods. That's a natural way you can intake vitamin B12 and omega-3. Iron you can get from beans. Another source, another nutrient that's really hard to get is also calcium. And it's just a matter of knowing where to get these sources. If you are eating, beans, chickpeas, quinoa, peas, black beans are really rich in iron. Mushrooms is an understated nutritional, it's not really a plant, it's a fungus that has amazing benefits to your body. There's lion's mane mushrooms, which helps regrow the pathways in your brain. There's all of these beneficial mushrooms that are neglected in the large popular culture diet, that once we start learning about which mushrooms to take, then you're going to see a lot of benefits. Like I personally use rise coffee in the morning, and it has various mushrooms in there, and it has a little bit of, that powdered ready instant coffee. So you do get a little bit of caffeine, but it's not as acidic. It doesn't hit your stomach very well. I do mix a little bit of coffee in there, and then it helps me get some of the vitamins I need. I think one of the harder problems for some people is family and cultural issues. Like I'm Brazilian. In Brazil, as most of y'all probably know, meat is big. Churrasco, and you have picanha, which is that big skewer with the big, fat on the outside, the meat in the middle, and you sprinkle it with sea salt. It tastes freaking amazing. Like, yeah, it tastes great. But what's that fat doing to you? It's going right into your heart. It's going right in between your organs. And long term, I don't want that. Like some of my family, they have big stomachs, they have heart problems because they're eating a not healthy diet. And, I'm 36 years old. I'm probably in one of the best shapes of my life. I can train martial arts and dance for like 5, 6, 7 hours straight. And, then I'm going to feel hungry. like the benefits I have seen from cutting the stuff out of my diet is a significant increase in my health, in my endurance, in my mental fortitude. Like, I still got my hair. Most of my family's bald. You know what I mean? Like, that could be genetic, but at the same time, like, you can probably see the results. Access to good food is also another issue. If you live out there in the middle of nowhere and you're listening to this, start your own garden, honestly. Even if you live in the middle of a suburban area, you live in, you know, the middle of the city, start a little garden in the little plot of land you have. Look up permaculture methods. Look up how to redirect rainwater into your plants. Look at how to filter your own water and start growing your own food, because you're not going to get through our system right now as good of food as you can grow your own. Unless you find a good farmer around you locally, it's going to be very hard to find that. Another problem is the longer you have of food sitting on the shelf, the less nutrients it's going to have. So the closer you can get to that source of food before it gets into you, the more it's going to retain the necessary vitamins to get into your body. So if you grow your own food, that's the best. If you have Farmer Joe down the street, amazing. Go to Farmer Joe. Make sure he's growing it well. Make sure he's cycling his crops. Make sure he's not just aggravating the soil, growing one thing for his cash crop. And, we have to be very conscious about what we're putting into our bodies. We are what we eat. We are a direct representation of that. And if you're eating crap, you're probably going to feel like crap. If you eat a lot of sugar, probably going to gain weight and be at risk of type 2 diabetes. If you're taking in a lot of saturated fats, you're probably going to have a higher risk of heart disease and higher blood pressure, because that stuff is going to get caught inside of your arteries, and then your heart's going to be working harder to pump that blood, and then heart attack. So what you put into your body directly correlates to your health. And I can't speak for everybody, but the more you do it, the more benefit you see out of it, the more you're going to want to do it. And at first, it's hard to make that first step to say, hey, I don't want to eat meat today, because you get so caught into doing it. If you want to eat meat, go for it. That's what you want to do. I'm not going to stop you. But I'm saying that my experience and the research I've done, I've seen a lot of benefits in switching to a vegetarian and ultimately, eventually, a vegan diet. The hardship of the vegan diet for me is keeping up with certain proteins. Like, collagen is very hard to take in, and you can take supplements that increases your body's natural ability to produce collagen. Now, if I get injured, like let's say I pull a muscle, I'm honestly gonna take some collagen for my own health to re-heal that muscle, and then once everything's good, I might stop that collagen intake. That's because there is a really big, and I have an entire article on my website, you can read it, about the benefits of collagen. It really helps regrow the soft tissues, the connective tissues in your body. Like, I hurt my knee and it healed in about 4 to 6 weeks. And it was a grade 1 tear, which, most people take 2-3 times longer to heal from that. And I was dancing within 4 to 6 weeks. So, that was my own experience. Now, my healing time has also been decreased because I'm constantly exercising. I'm constantly stretching. The blood is going through my body and it's used to healing itself. One of the other biggest things that got me into a vegetarian diet is I started to look at how can I keep training martial arts and be healthy as I age? Because as we age, we start to feel more pain. It becomes harder to put on muscle and it becomes harder to heal. And your body starts withering. And I don't want to grow old necessarily. I mean, I'm going to get old. I'm going to die one day. But I want to do it gracefully. I want to be active through my older years. I want to be running around. I want to be still teaching, practicing martial arts, dancing, doing fire spinning, even when I'm like 70, 80 years old. And I know for a fact that is possible. There's many examples. And there's been a few studies recently. One that I'm going to highlight is the twin study. They took a bunch of set of twins, and they put one set of twin on a healthy omnivore diet, and the other set of twins on a healthy vegan diet. And what they saw was the vegans, they lost fat if they kept to it. This is the important thing, is that you keep to the diet and you eat correctly, because when you switch to a vegan diet, it's very easy to not only fall off, but not intake enough food. So the people who followed it well, they saw a decrease in fat, an increase in their muscle mass, an increase in their testosterone, in their sex drive, and they also saw a growth in the end caps of their DNA, which saw a decrease in their biological age, which means that your body starts to age backwards in only 8 weeks of eating a vegan diet. And now this warrants more studies, more research needs to be done, but I have also felt very similar effects, where when I eat vegan diet, I don't feel lethargic. I don't feel like I'm gonna be this lazy like blob sitting on a couch like I used to when I used to eat meat. So something to consider if that interests you. Intake more herbs, put more plants in your body. If you don't want to completely cut out cheese and eggs, which is big for a lot of people, take out the meat, and it's going to help you a lot. Another big benefit is the easier processing of proteins in the body. Because plants have a more basic protein structure, you can more readily break it down and get it to your muscles. That means that you're not going to spend as much energy breaking down this complex protein. You're not going to spend as much time in your digestive tract. So you're going to be able to digest it faster. The nutrients are going to get to your muscles faster, and it's going to get through your intestinal tract a lot easier. And that's going to require less energy. And you're going to, as long as you're taking in different proteins. If you're taking in vegan, I recommend at least 3 different types of protein, so you get a complete protein. What you do when you take whey protein, you get one complete protein, but it's more complex, so it takes longer to break down. Versus the vegan protein, take 3 that are simpler, little, like imagine like a smaller protein versus a big one. I'm not saying that it is, but just for like visual sake, it's going to be a lot faster to break down something that is simpler, and your body can absorb it more readily. There's research on this. Please look it up. I have a few articles on our website as well, feraacademy.com, that you can look this up. Personally, also ethical values. Now, this is where it gets controversial. Some people just don't care. They'll kill an animal, they'll eat it. They don't know where that animal came from. You might just go to the store, grab this packet of meat, and boom, and you have removed the essence of like thanking that animal for its life that you are now taking and putting their energy, their life into you. Through my studies in meditation, there's a lot of karmic exchange in eating meat, that we are taking in some of that karmic value through the meat. I personally don't want to eat meat because of what the meat industry has become. Unsustainable. It has become all about profit. It lacks nutrition, and you have people putting dyes in meat to make it look healthier. You have like sick fish, sick cows, and I just don't trust the system. So, not only the ethical part of it, but of like how the animal's being treated, but how they're growing it and then how they're presenting it to you. I would be very much fine ethically if I was in the middle of the woods, I was starving, and I needed to hunt an animal, and I would thank, the universe for allowing me to intake this source of energy, and I would thank their life for it, and I would try to use every single bit of it. How it was done in the past, where it used to be maybe you didn't have another source of intake. Maybe it's winter, you can't grow plants, and maybe you have to hunt, right? There's different situations where that just might be how you need to live, right? And that's very different than what's happening here in the civilized world in the United States, where most of us have access to a grocery store that has good food. I highly recommend going to Sprouts supermarket. They have a wide array of different vegan options, different gluten-free options, different dairy-free options that give you, a lot of these things that I'm talking about. They have mushrooms, they have vitamin B12 supplements, iron and calcium supplements. They have vegan collagen that stimulates your body's natural growth of collagen. And it's just finding out where to go to get these foods. And aside from that, I guess like the biggest thing would be my experience is having more energy. Now, you can correlate that to my training, where the more I train, the more efficient my body is at using that energy so I can go longer. But what I saw is I was training at a very specific level. I didn't change my level of training, I changed my diet. And within a week or two, in my training of removing meat, I saw a drastic increase in my performance. I was able to jump higher. I was able to go faster. I was able to train longer at a higher intensity without getting tired. And I was able to train a lot sooner from the time I ate to the time I was able to train without feeling lethargic. And I mean, it's truly understated the benefits we get from eating a cleaner diet. So, and just kind of, reiterate everything. Eating a vegan diet, you can help prevent heart disease, high blood pressure. And for people who have gotten type 2 diabetes, there are many cases out there where that disease has been completely reversed, where they had type 2 diabetes, they removed these saturated fats, they removed all of these, the sugar from their diet, they went vegan, and they didn't have type 2 diabetes anymore. Weight management. A lot of the meat you're eating has extremely high fat. If you go to the grocery store and you buy a pack of meat, it usually tells you the lean mass in there. And the lean mass meat usually costs more than the one that's super fatty. So the people who have a lower income are usually going to get the higher fatty stuff. And that's a problem because we should all have access to healthy, good food without having to break our pockets. And that's where a vegan diet really comes in handy, where you can buy, depending on where you are, a full vegan meal for your week a lot cheaper than you can buying meat. Meat is pretty expensive. It's expensive to produce. It's expensive to store. It's got a low shelf life versus a lot of vegan foods that are a lot more expensive. And that's one of the misconceptions of a vegan diet, is a lot of people think it's more expensive. Now, if you go to a restaurant, maybe not so. But if you're making food at home, which I highly recommend, learning how to make vegan foods at home. And there's the internet. You can look up many different sources and many different recipes. There's no excuse nowadays. Like if you're watching this, you have access to the internet. Go look up a vegan diet. Go look up how to make vegan whatever your favorite food is. And it tastes amazing, because a lot of what makes our food taste good is all the herbs and spices we put in there, right? You like salt? Put some salt in there. And don't put too much salt. You know what I mean? Nutritional benefits. You're going to get more nutrients out of plants than you are out of meat. That's just the truth. Now, you're going to have a harder time finding specific nutrients. Vitamin B12, omega-3, iron, and calcium. And there are sources for those: mushrooms, flax seeds, chia seeds, black beans. You can keep going. I can't think the rest of off the top of my head, but there are good replacement for these. Nutritional use is another one. Reducing your carbon footprint, like shopping locally, going to your local farmer, find a co-op that you can, support your local farmers, and then you get a lot cheaper food. Conservation of water and land. The amount of land is considerably less. The amount of water is considerably less. So if you're out in the desert and you're eating meat, you're contributing to not only the amount of land, the amount of water, but also that carbon that's transporting that food to you. So find something local. Find somewhere where you know where it's grown. The biodiversity, right? If you're going to start growing food and you have a bed and you plant all one plant, that's not very biodiverse, right? So look up permaculture method. Learn how to analyze your watershed. Learn where you are, your climate. Learn how to plant trees and create a food forest in your backyard. Learn where to plant the trees based on how the sun is moving, based on how the water, how the wind, right? Work with the environment. That's one thing. We are working against our environment, and we're essentially changing our climate rather than working with it. There's many studies of planting trees, how it lowers the temperature in an area. Now imagine what that's doing when you work with the environment and the watershed. We're cleaning water, we're creating cleaner food, we're capturing water. And like if you look at a lot of Indian farms, they created these water catchment systems that allowed the water to move through the land slower and get into the ground. Then they were able to plant trees, they were able to plant farms and create more food, right? So look at where you are, analyze where you are, and then make the necessary moves in order to produce the right food.
At Fera Academy, we believe every person has unlimited potential waiting to be unleashed. Join our academy and discover your inner power through disciplines like Taekwondo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, martial arts weapons, and more. Our experienced instructors empower you with the skills, strength, and wisdom to become an unstoppable warrior. Train in a focused, inclusive environment where you'll progress quickly. Learn meditation, nutrition, and breathing techniques to develop a balanced body, mind, and spirit. Uncover your true potential and prepare for life's challenges at Fera Academy. Start your journey. Visit feraacademy.com today.
Culturally, that's just going to be per person. Like, I haven't gone to Brazil to visit my family since I've started eating vegetarian, really. And I know that's going to be a difficult thing because they all eat meat, and that's just part of the culture. And that's just the hardship that we have to deal with. And that's a personal choice that I'm making. That, well, if the people around me want to push their diet on me, well, good luck. I'm not going to push my diet on anybody. I totally respect anybody who eats meat. You know, that means that you need to respect my own decisions as well, because I chose my diet for my own health, right? And I've seen like invaluable changes in my life from it. So that's something that each individual person is going to have to weigh. You know, your access to food, dining out. You know, some people, like there's a bunch of barbecue places that don't even have options without meat. Maybe you can't go to that restaurant. Maybe you can't go out with your friends that one night because they're going to go out somewhere. Maybe you suggest a place that has options for both people. And that's conversations that you may have to have that you didn't have to consider before, right? And access to good food is also another problem. If you don't have access to food, go to the store, get some seeds, start planting your own food, start growing your own food. If you're interested in your biological age, retaining your youth, I really recommend reducing the saturated fats you're putting into your body. I really recommend eating foods that are healthier in nutrients. And I especially recommend increasing herbs, increasing the level of vegetables that you're putting into your body, and personally, reducing the meat. And again, you can look this up. There's twin studies, there's a few other studies done on this, and it is literally affecting us at a DNA level. The proteins and the things we put into us are literally rebuilding our DNA, rebuilding our bodies. And what you put in gets broken down and gets into every single part of your body, your brain, your heart, your lungs, everything gets rebuilt by the food and the water that you put in. That's why it is extremely important we are conscious about what gets into our bodies. Easier to process proteins. If you require less energy to break something down, you're going to end up having more energy. And if that thing that you're breaking down in your stomach has more energy, just think about it. Like, that just makes sense, right? And I remember thinking about this when I was taught this in middle school, that plants take the energy from the sun, and then the herbivores eat them, and then carnivores eat those animals. And the carnivores are essentially getting 3 steps away from the source because they're taking an already broken down energy platform, right? That's more complex, and then they're breaking that down into their system. And like for a cat, well, you know, our cat's a carnivore. I'm not going to feed it plants. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. Like, you know, there are some stories about it, But like the cat's carnivore, I'm gonna feed it meat. Like that's just how it is. But if you look at how our teeth are designed, we're very similar to apes. You go to the jungle, you look at monkeys, you look at gorillas. What are they eating? Fruits, vegetables. Look at the size of a gorilla. They're huge. They're strong. They'll beat the crap out of you. And they're eating fruits, nuts, and vegetables. And they have massive amounts of energy. And they're huge. So there's a large misconception about what a vegan diet is, what it can do to you, and the benefits you can have from it. So do your research. Look up more into this. Go to our website, feracademy.com. I'm going to be posting up more articles. I already have some articles on this about the importance of, the water, different proteins, eating vegan, meditation. And, if you are progressing yourself spiritually, think about the ethical values of it, the karma relationship you have with your food, and what you're putting into your body, the energy you're putting into your body. Because everything is made of energy, right? Einstein said, if we want to understand the world better, we must think about it as energy. Everything has a frequency. And the higher the frequency we put into our bodies, the higher frequency we're going to have. And I'm a very firm believer in being very conscious about what comes inside of me personally, because I'm trying to raise my vibration, raise my awareness. So as I was saying, you can go to our website, feraacademy.com, to find out more information. Look this up yourself. If you absolutely need meat, eat meat because you feel like it. Listen to your body. There's a spiritual group in India, the Agori. They eat meat and they're spiritually inclined. Like, we're not going to tell them what to do. That's what their life path needs them to do. Go for it. I'm telling you my own personal experience, my own personal research, and what I've done and what I've experienced. Everyone's different. Everybody's body is different. Everyone's path is different. What I'm saying is, based on my research, based on where the world is, this is what I've chosen to do. This is what I feel is best for myself and best for the world. And, everyone's going to have a different opinion. And if you disagree, you have every right to disagree. This is a very touchy subject for people. And there's a lot of other people out there who are really trying to push their points of views on other people. I highly disagree with that because I feel like everybody should make their own choice. So always listen to your body. If you need a specific nutrient, you're not getting it, eat it. If you don't know how to go about a vegan diet, send me a message. I am very happy to help you find the sources and the nutrients required for you to get what you need. But most importantly is, out of this talk, if you're going to eat a vegan diet, make sure you're getting vitamin B12, omega-3s, iron, calcium. Make sure you're getting those. Otherwise, you will get sick. You will not progress forward. Aside from that, check your source of food. Make sure it is grown well. Make sure it is killed well if you're eating animals. Don't eat farmed fish because fish farms, except for like a handful of them in Spain, are not done correctly. Our method of producing food is not holistic, and you're getting food that is deprived in nutrients. Find a good source. Eat organic because of how it's grown. Most organic food still is deprived of certain minerals just because the soil still hasn't gotten there. And if you can find a permaculture farm, go for it. Support those farms. Support the people who are growing things correctly and get food from a good source. That is beyond most important, regardless of what you're eating. Get food from a good source. If you're going to eat meat, get the dude who's grass feeding his cows, showing love to his cows and keeping them in a tender manner. But be aware, be conscious of what you're putting into your body. Know how it's getting there. If you're going to go eat, make sure it's a good restaurant, that they're putting care and attention into the meal, that they're not just sitting there being treated like slaves at a McDonald's, that they're just slapping things together. You're not going to see benefits from that. What we put into our bodies is by far the source of our health. And you can do insane exercises. and you will not see a single benefit from it. If you're exercising, increase your protein intake, increase your vitamin intake because you're going to be exerting all of that. Increase your water intake because you're going to be exerting that. So be aware of what you and your body needs and take care of yourself above all. With love, I will see you all next time on The Unlimited You.
Thank you for joining Victor and Andy on The Unlimited You. Make sure to visit our website, www.feraacademy.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or via RSS so you'll never miss a show. If you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode.